ngixolela ke program yethu ibingathi lama adjustment. The President of the Urban Councils Association of Zimbabwe, His Worship Councillor Taudi. Deputy Mayors, Councillors M. Dube, Aldermen and Councillors of the City of Bulawayo here present. Town Clerk, Mr. C. Dube, and heads of Council Department. Secretary General of Urban Council Association here present. Members of the Urban Council Association of Zimbabwe. Members of the Zimbabwe Engineers Forum, friends, Bulawayo Omhle. Siyabonga ke, sizoqala ke iprogram yethu because of our time. Omi phambi kwenu ngumfundisi uMpofu. Ngicela ukuthi sithi work together for this program ukuphumelela kwayo. Itime yethu is not our side. So we'll ask our speakers. I know ukuthi kulama stories amanengi singawakhuluma about our engineer, but sizafisa ukuthatha lokho okuqhakathekileyo few words so that sibekwazi ukubamba iprogram ngoba le season yethu ayisivumeli. Ngicela ukuthi ke ngingene one song, then sicele osiphathele obishwa.
Igama lenkosi malibongwe,
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 malibongwe, igama lenkosi
malibongwe,
malibongwe, malibongwe, malibongwe, igama lenkosi.
Uzahla sithathele obishwa ahla sithathele le Dube family.
Ekseni ngiyalibingelela egameni elihle elomfelo wethu Jesu Kristu. Allow me to say all protocol observed. Engimi phambi kwenu ngumbuso Nyathi ngingumzawakhe ka-engineer Simela Dube. I will start by reading the obituary that I reckon most of us would have because it is on the program. Engineer Simela Dube was born in Kwanda district on the 22nd of December 1965. He was 56 years old. He was the second born of 4 children born to Huggins Dube and Elina Dube ni Ndlovu. He did his primary education at Makokwe Primary School and Buvuma Primary School before proceeding to Sobugazi Secondary School, where he was between 1979 and 1982. For his ordinary levels, and he then proceeded to Mzilikazi High between 1983 and 1984. He started for a Bachelor of Science, Civil Engineering Honors degree at the University of Zimbabwe between 1985 and 1988. He was married to Mrs. Nobuhle Dube ni Msema, to whom they had 3 children, Mbongiseni Begoguhle Dube, Lubaletu Elina Dube, and Mlulegi Tumelo Dube. Engineer Simela Dube began his career as a bursary student engineer under the City of Bulawayo bursary scheme in 1984 to 1987 before his appointment as a junior engineer in October of 1988. He rose through the ranks to the position of construction engineer and mainly involved in road construction and stormwater drainage systems. He joined the city of Kwekwe in March 1992, where he held the position of Director of Works after being promoted from the position of Assistant Director in the Engineering Services Department from March 1992 to the 4th of April 1995. He rejoined the city of Bulawayo as Assistant Director of Engineering Services, responsible for roads, in 1995, where he served up to 2008. He also acted as a Director of Engineering Services, responsible for water, between 2005 and 2008. In 2009 to 2010, he worked as project manager responsible for capacity building of low-capacity municipalities with the Development Bank of Southern Africa, DBSA. He was appointed Director of Engineering Services for the city of Bulawayo from the 1st of July 2010 to his time of his departure, a position he held until his death. During his role as Director of Engineering Services, he epitomized humility, wisdom, and was key in the trajectory towards a smart city status. He spearheaded various projects which included the preparation and implementation of the City of Bulawayo commercialization and privatization strategy, the development of the first local authority call center, development of the first wastewater master plan in the country, and the setting up of the City of Bulawayo Geographic Information Systems, GIS unit, and the development of the City of Bulawayo Road Condition Survey. He was also coordinator of the African Development Bank funded Bulawayo Water and Sewerage Services Improvement Project from 2015 to date. He was an engineer par excellence who was involved in various developmental projects. He played a key role in several task forces and committees, which included task member to the reclassification and road condition and inventory survey in Zimbabwe in 2008, rewriting of the Road Act in 2001 under the Road Sector Reform and Development Program, steering committee member for the National Road Safety Policy Steering Committee in 2013, National Matabeleland Zambezi Water Project Advisory Council in 2012, corporate member of the Zimbabwe Institute of Engineers 1994, associate member of the Institute of South African Institute of Civil Engineering in 2008. He also sat on the National University of Science and Technology Council from 2017 to 2019. He is survived by his wife, Mrs. Nobuhle Nimsema, and 3 children, Mbongiseni Begobuhle Dube, Lubaletu Elina Dube, and Mlulegi Tumelo Dube. I thank you. I now turn my eyes on representing Abago Dube. Usimela, as we have heard, uzalwa koDube, nguHuggins Dube, uyena owayezalwa nguMalomo, lo Elina Dube Nindlovu. The rest of the issues I would have covered have been covered in the obituary. So for that reason, I will leave them for the sake of time. I particularly remember in the early 70s, it should have been, where I grew up, Simela Dube Izinyani. And I reckon being oriented as Abafana, we were given the task, ukulihlinza. Forgive me, I'm not sure what the motivation was, but saqala ngokubhoboza isifuba, sakhipha isibindi, sawosa isibindi, singakahlinzi izinyani. KwakunguSimela lo mbuso. I also remember and was reminded, Simela wayephambi kwami ebuvuma. You will forgive me, I'm not too good with dates, but it was my 70s. Usimela grade 5, a friend of mine tells me, uthi babe ku same class. And Usimela, angwazi one way or the other, became a teacher of mathematics at grade 5. Do you want to know uthi wayehola malini? Wayehola umkhomo. Babe mphathele umkhomo the boab 3 foot. That was Simela for you. So that was the cradle. Usimela then eventually moved to Bulawayo. Bulawayo, I had to put it as the launching pad for what he eventually became. And we are eternally grateful to his mentors in that period, yours truly, Stanley Dube and Tobegile Dube, as we heard, they mentored him as Katini, as Sesobugazi, Mziligazi, and eventually a University of Zimbabwe. Usimela then, Nkulunkulu, as he was granting grace, had a huge launch or lift off when he met Mamtala wetu, Mamtala bantu abami, uNobuhle Nimsema. There could have been a better launch pad There couldn't have been a better takeoff. We are grateful kwaba komsema ngonobuhle, because by and large, notwithstanding the background that I've given you, Simela became what he was because of Nobuhle's input. Simela eventually became an engineer. The rest will be covered, I reckon, when other speakers come to the podium. But I want to say these few words. Simela, and I'm acknowledging, borrowing from Ubaba Watkins Dube, while we were deliberating about the proceedings, we tell Simela Simzele, but we say, yeah, we say, you are, I don't know how better to put it, but we couldn't contain him, Ekumen. So Kwabako Dube Simela was beyond Iguma, Labako Dube. I also remember Kuluma Lomo, I can't remember who was traveling, but he was commenting about Zulu, that he had gone abroad. What happened to Abetu, I guess including Simela, Sebestate Basise America, Labo UK, Langapi. We are grateful, eternally grateful for Simela for having been available. Uti Abago Dube as Kuliseganga. Here is the last thing that I want to say. Simela died at 56. Some would say he died young. I disagree. Simela died empty. I'm borrowing from Dr. Miles Monroe, who encourages us that we should pour our lives on humanity as it were. So did Simela. So Simela didn't die young, he died empty. He poured his life as a professional and distinguished engineer, but he also died as he had poured out his life as an outstanding philanthropist. Siyabonga for the part that you played in Simela's life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nyati. Yeah, because of our time, ngizacela Msema Charles Msema alandelwe ngama siblings Ishmael Dube and Simiso Dube, and children Mbo and Luba. Balandelane ke labo sithenge isikhathi sethu. Ngicela bangenzele.
Because of time, ngicela lesikhwalele singacela ukuthi all protocol observed. Igama lami nguCharles Msema, as have been introduced. Mina ngimi ubabazala ka Dube ophambi kwethu lapha. Thank you. Mina, I'm here to represent Imuli Yagomsema. Mina ngumnaga Mrs. Dube, Unohle Dube. Ubudi, Simela, sorry, I would like to recognize him as Ubudi because ube ngumuntu othanda abantu. Yebo engkhonyana but ube se involved kumuli yethu wakomsema kakhulu ukuthi zonke izinto njengalezi engizenza kathesi nguye kade umsebenzi wakhe. So kathesi lami kade sengiqala ukufundela ukutsha. Ngizangixolela khonapho. Maybe let me introduce this side kaBhuti uSimela Dube, an informal side. We've heard the formal side, the real side kaBhuti uSimela, who he was, what he actually went through as Ubhuti. I remember he visited us once at home At that time, sasisathenga amanzi, go-greens, all amatanka amakhulu, those tanks. We used to buy water from there. So he came and says, can I have a glass of water? So we quickly went to the fridge, took mineral water, sasithengile. But I'm sorry, mina anginathi amanzi lawo, nginatha awami awe cancel. So samangala. And eventually, I see ama tanks lana ago greens aseko. We are all enjoying the fresh water from the city of Bulawayo. Siyabonga khonokho. Ubhuti was a simple man, yet an executive. He would choose to associate with someone who appreciated him for who he was, rather than maybe PhD, doctorate. Maybe you would want to abuse. You would be his enemy. You would be his enemy. He would not associate with you. He would rather associate with a simple person who appreciated who he was. That is ubhuti wethu, Smela, Engineer Smela. Sorry, because of time, saying kata uwenengi, saying keep uwenengi lapha. Ubhuti engineer Simela Dube. I know most of these times waye echona engeko, you would find Uti most of the times he'd spend a week away overseas and he would come back a day and then you'd fly out another week and you'd find Uti umama labantwana would be left being a lababa. And that was his passion. Singambuza uthi kanti baba, why udedicated emsebenzini wakho kangaka? Why sithi hayi bakithi asincediseni Bulawayo. Let's save Bulawayo uthi iphumelele iye phambili. That was his passion. Yikho ayikumele. I know uBaba Dube, you would find namhla uphume kuphephandaba leli, usasa uphume kuphephandaba leli, kodwa at the end of the day kukhanya abantu laba bebechaya eceleni into ezingasoqiniswa singahlala la phansi sithi athi bhuti why usekela abantu laba besenza so esithi hayi asekeleni kuqhubeke into important yi city of Bulawayo yi service delivery yiyo impilo thina siyaziyo eka bhuti engineer uSmela. He was so dedicated to you, the city of Bulawayo, more than us, the real family. Why Tanda Bulawayo? He sacrificed everything for Bulawayo. I know Ubhuti at one stage when the government of unity was coming together, I think there was a proposal permanent secretary at that time. And he said, no, Mina, I would rather be with the city of Bulawayo, with the residents of Bulawayo. And those are not the only opportunities. There were so many opportunities outside the country. I've been asked to tone down. I think I will leave it here. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga, sizaxola ukuthi ke ma families kakhulu laba abaduze kakhulu noma bekhuluma kuba khona izinto ezibachayayo bangasabi ngendlela esiyo thina. So ngicela ke silandelane ke hlobo zami Sisondele ku mic lapho ukuze sizwakale kahle.
Salmonani, Mahlabe Zulu. Protocols observed, like all the speakers have been saying. Mina ngikhulumayo Ismail Dube, yimengelama u-engineer Dube, uSimela. Engime naye ngudade wethu uSmiso Dube, actually sengimbize wrong, Prof S Dube. Prof S Nindi, so ni Dube, maybe batsho njalo ngesilungu. Ngizongixolela mina ngititsha wesibalo, isilungu angisazi kahle. Anyway, engakusho ukuthi most of the things have been said, like ubaba uMsemu ukhulumile, ubaba uNyathi ukhulumile, mina ngi third born, bekhona usisi, the late uNothando, kulandele mina, bese kusiza, sorry kulandele u-engineer Dube, bese kusiza myself, then usisi uSmiso. Ubudi was a humble guy. He was a person, ngiyawasela amagama ukumdescribe. He was that kind of a person you would hardly see him in our corrugations on the face, ukuthi ukwatele, uzondile. You would always be smiling. If, let's say, when it's a mistake, you rather ignore it. Ahleke nje akhulume ngenye indlela. So, to us, abakuDube family, to the Nyathi family, komama lapho sizalwa khona, to the Bulawayo community and to the nation as a whole, silahlekelwe. But imsebenzi yakhe that he left, I think they will continue to reflect on his character and his will and his wish for the nation. I remember one thing, Mr. Msema, the previous speaker, besise eKatu in the northern province. Mvakashile mina ngisuka eJohannesburg. Yena usebenzela ngale for iDPSA. So he shows, it's a small town, iKatu. He shows me a letter of appointment. Ndoda, awubheke lapho ukuthi uMunicipality wakubula uthini. Ngithi bathini kanti labantu. Mangifunda lencwadi bamtshela ukuthi they are appointing him as a director of engineering services. Siyaphuma nje siya endaweni yokusigwejisela ngithi kuye hayi bhodi kanti iDPSA. Uyezwa ukuthi sikhuluma ngani lapha, sikhuluma a big body, and isikhwama sakhona sithini uyabuhola ngengwane, babekuholela ngengwane. Manje ufunani ukuya koBulawayo ngoba ilizwe lakithi ekhaya liyancipha ngomkhonomi. Sadiphetha that thing. Wathi yena wayihleka nje waphuma ukuthi asachama drinks wethu saphuma sayolala ekuseni 3:30, that's what he was. Savuka driver, it's a 2,000 and something kilometers via Botswana Spiela. The whole journey I was trying to convince him ukuthi handot yeyela man hlala lapha eSouth Africa ngoba ngale ulanduka moshilo kuzeni. Wathi khona endot, mina I have nothing to do with money, it is for the love of the people. Then he reminded one thing to me. He said, uyakhumbula wena osafunda, I think Ansenju in a university, ngabo bana bangithumele euniversity ngathi uMansipala kuBulawayo. Wathi yebo, ngaphuma lapha ngangaphi ngayikhwekhwe ngaphinda ngaphenduka futhi. So ithi ngiyisebenzela abantu who showed love and care for me, let me go and do that thing. And I would like to say he did a wonderful job. When he came there, I saw and realized why we had to argue over 2,000 something kilometers. Sasazongena eRamakhwebane siloku silwa ngalenda bese-2. Yeah, but kodwa wangihlula. But later on, izenzo zakhe, what he did for the city, what he did for the nation and the Dube family and the Nyathi Msema family, everyone. Ngacina ngibona ukuthi why he decided to say angisoze ngihlale elizweni labaya abantu, let me go and develop elizweni lakithi. One last thing I can mention as well is that must drivers siyekhaya nahlala ngapha eGwanda South enqameni sihamba ngalo umgwaqo lo ophuma koMthwakazi umgwaqo ufile lo masifika phambili nathi sasiyathena uzohamba kwesikhathi amisa imoto ashute the portion of umgwaqo yabona engineer uhambe cabanga ngalezi ndawo ame ashute uzibheka lapho ukuthi kunjani I wish ngabe bayaqondisa yet all that kind of a thing as adlula manje kune project ithiwa Mathema Magumbo project bese beqalise I road project ekhaya siphuma asikhona ukufika ngezimoto zakithi zethu masemzini yethu so he was I won't lie to say he spearheaded but he was facilitating the technical side of our community as a Gumagumbo, Lagumatema in that project as it were. Then Beseng City, Ebantwan and Bami, Nasemulini Ago Dube, Gomsema, Inkosi, Maisi Ngozile, Agulantus Naenza, as Kiniseleni, Asimbongenum Tali, Ugutuasipa such a gallant son. Mkwenyana to other people, a father to my children, an uncle, kwamanye abantu. So asikwamgeleni konke lokho ngabe kuthethwe nguNkulunkulu. Bantu bami libe strong, mama ube strong and ibulawa community sibene strong. Let's try to propound imisebenzi wayenzayo siqhubekele phambili. Ngiyabonga.
Ngiyalibingelela sizwe sakoMthwakazi koBulawayo. Ngiyalibingelela ngegama lika Jesu Kristu. Ngiyalibingelela ngenhliziyo edabukileyo because uSimela Dube people used to say to me ngihlaba ehlangana nami ngisesikolo university even I'm studying abamaziyo I was not called by my name, but when I'm not Kasmela, engabaziyo. Then I was just wondering, ukuthi bamazela ngaphi uSimela? Uhlanganele twin yakho ihamba ngale, la nxa nje mina ngangincane kulaye ngingamlandeli. So uSimela was my twin until Uluba came into the space and decided that yena nguyi twin kababakhe. But we were, I upututhathe kakwazi ukuchela umna wakhe so uthethe most of my time so I'll try to be brief uthi singa delay program but as everyone has said uSimela humility and kwesikhathi humility oziphosa ufuna ukumshikisha ukuthi I respond in a different way at a certain point uzicala no but abantu nxa besenza so umele wenze so why are you not responding? But you're not, but the important thing is to build a relationship. So, Mina, what he taught me is that relationships are very important. Relationships are very important, and he valued the relationships. Ogoguti, I was away from home at some time for 5 years. But in a program, I'm like overseas. He made it a point ukuthi zengapenduke ekhaya engafikanga. Wafika a UK, which at that time in Zimbabwe things were difficult. You could have actually, and figure UK, he wanted to spend on me. Minengangi say UK because for me he's just a giver. He gave to everyone, gave to abantu. Sikhulume koDube sakhuluma komsema sakhuluma komalume lapha esivela akula ndawo uSimela abangangeni khona whether abantu balakho kumbe abalakho you will not see him ehambe emgwaqweni and think he's the director of this engineering services not know that he's the director ube travela esemazweni as umsema has said simhlangabeze at the airport ehamba le team ahamba la team yakhe you will not see the difference of the levels ukuthi uhamba lapho bani because you will come with that humility and see people abangani bakhangani nje all of them were his friends so githi that is something that has been touching us ukuthi la napho ehambile wonke umuntu besithi sizasala sisenzani sime ngaphi, because everywhere kodwa akula ndawo umsebenzi esingazange sabona, to the point that at times we are getting even confused at this point, that in my mind on the 31st of December sengizwile South Africa on the 30th of the passing on. If you check my phone, you'll find it on the 31st of December when ngihlangahlangile ngizama ukufonela ukuthi ngikhulume lo bani ngafonela uSimela. Trying to get somebody that I wanted to talk to, and then in a very strange way I dialed his number because he was that pillar yokuthi sokwenzakale lokhu but siyenze njani, u-end up ufonela umuntu osethule. That's how dependent, or that's how he was a pillar for the family, for the community, for imuli at large. And I've never seen somebody hardworking like that. Othi umuntu ufundisa le muli yakhe abantu emzini wabo Dube. Nangu Mrs. Dube lapho no. Young kids babevuka at 4 a.m. Kuyasetshenzwa at 4 a.m. because that's when their time uSimela was starting. Nxa abantu bembone ofisini ezoqalisa ngo-8, he's been working to the point that all the kids endlini, I was even surprised ukuthi it's now a culture yokuthi abantwana endlini kuyavuka sisebenze, you know, and kuyasetshenzwa into esizilazo siyazisebenzela, and ukuthula is something that he always had. We will miss you, my brother. Akula mazwi singawatsho singakhuluma yebo iprogram injalo ndisiyaxolisa ukuthi usithethe isikhathi, but I felt ukuthi I just arrived at 1 a.m. this morning. I just arrived today. I want just to pour my love. Ngithi uliqhawe ulale ngokuthula. uNkulunkulu besiphile njalo as uMnyathe chilo. God emptied everything that he had deposited in you for you to actually not go back carrying anything. Uzibuza ukuthi nga ngithe. Everything, every gift that was actually given unto him, he used it. And I believe that Sisia Pambili Singabe Mole will also emulate his steps. Siyabonga.
I'm not going to speak from my head as everyone did because I don't think I can. I'm just going to read what I put together. First of all, I'd like to say hello to everyone, all protocol observed. Thank you so much for coming here today and just being here to celebrate the life of my dad. Although this is going to be a very hard day, I want to take this time to remember and to honor the special memories I had with my dad and to celebrate a life well lived. I'm aware that the people who worked with him and knew him in a professional space are going to talk about the incredible work he did. So I just want to talk about who he was to me as a father. So while I was preparing this, I looked for a reference of what a good father is. And the internet describes a good father as someone who you can look up to, someone to follow, someone to admire, someone to be proud of, and someone at times to brag about, someone to hold, and someone to cry with, someone to learn from, and someone to respect, someone to listen to, and someone to talk to, and most of all, someone with whom to share everything life has to offer. God has been so kind to my siblings and I because he blessed us with a father who was all this and much, much more. He was such a blessing that we will thank God for him for all the days of our lives. A lot of people tend to butt heads with their parents, but that was never my dad and I. We were two peas in a pod. I called him my twin. It wasn't just because we looked alike, but I always made the joke that when God created me, he was kind of in a rush. So when he had to come up with my personality, he just took my dad and said, copy paste. We were similar in many ways, from little things like how we liked our eggs to our love and pursuit for math-based careers that were very problem-solving based. It did take my dad a while to accept the fact that I wasn't going to be an engineer. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I was not about to live in his shadow. But he really always spoke of this vision that he had where we would take over the world as engineers, and he called it Dube and Daughter. My dad and I understood each other so effortlessly. And I thank God for having experienced such an amazing, amazing relationship with him. To say I love my dad would be an understatement. And to say I'm going to miss him is an even greater understatement. My dad was the kind of father who celebrated your wins in such a pure way. Nothing to do with how big an achievement it was or how it made him look as a father, but it was just your achievement. I remember when I passed my final year of my degree, and I called him and he cried. So then I asked him later, Daddy, why do you get so emotional when I tell you about my achievements? And my dad just said to me, it's not about what the achievement was. It's about the fact that I get to witness your dreams coming true. It's about the fact that I was afraid of going through the pain of watching something you worked hard for not go your way. This was just a testament of how loving he just was and how he valued hard work and just doing your best. He was my real life superhero, my safe space, a calm, loving, and warm presence. As a result, when he would walk into a room, my demeanor would instantly change from a 26-year-old to a 6-year-old. Literally just a few days before his passing, he was in his room protecting me, his little princess, from a spider that had come into my room. He cared about us dearly. When my brother and I were in home, he would make sure to message us daily to find out how we were doing. He would never respond and tell us how he was doing, but he just wanted to make sure we were okay. He would message my mom every afternoon to ask her how her day was going, to find out if she ate. He would always make time for my baby brother after school just to find out how his day went. Dad was always there for everyone, family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, the community. I was touched by a message I received on Twitter yesterday. This person messaged me and shared with me that my dad helped him and his friends by getting a scholarship resurrected, and that scholarship changed their lives. And even after the scholarship, after the internship was done, he was always ready for a discussion and a quick chat. And that was just my dad, always ready to show up for people, whether he knows you or not, and always ready to make a difference in your life. Never too big or too important to make time for you. My dad was big on education. Together, him and mom, they would help orphans get through school. They'd pay for them all the way through varsity. They taught us to be giving, and they would always say, this is not our money. This is the money God has placed in our hands to help those around us. And he taught us to also follow those same principles with the people around us. Although it hurts to lose my father, I find comfort in that Dad and I never left an I love you unsaid. I knew I meant the world to him, and he knows I loved him dearly. I find comfort in reflecting on the life he lived, all he managed to achieve, the lives he touched, and the amazing father and husband he was. Dad would say that there are two things the devil wants from you: your soul and your time. So work hard and don't waste your time. Love the Lord Jesus Christ, your Savior, and love people around you. I feel like anyone who knows my dad will say that he lived true to these words. In the time he had, he worked diligently to achieve his God-given purpose. He touched so many lives, not only because of his incredible work, but because of how loving, humble, and down-to-earth he was, never taking himself too seriously. I know my siblings and I actually used to call him Sims. He ran a good race. I love you, and I'm so, so proud of you, Baba Wam. Lala ngokuthula det.
Ansoze ngikhulume kakhulu. But ubaba ngumuntu wasupportayo from the beginning. From day one ngikhumbula ngidweba la amaplan. Ngitshontshe impenseli zakhe emfundisa. Uluba ebusy emfundisa imaths. Utumi wayemgezisa from the first day he was born until ezekwanisa ukuzigezisa himself. Unyasha ubhuti wami lapha. Sasisonke ngo 4 o'clock lo baba. Sihlangana ekitchen. Senza itiye. Umdala esithi siyasebenza sonke. Siyasebenza. And even up to today, lapha abantu abasazi khona bakwazi ukuthi ngo 4 o'clock sivukile. Sivukile, and was still pushing that. And baba wangitshela kwelinye ilanga usithi iCoca-Cola bhekenzwa njani indaba lokho ikhona. This is what I want you guys to do. Azange iqalise iCoca-Cola elinathayo. So lokho engikuyenzileyo, do not have to copy me. Continue on your path. Ukhulu was a bricklayer. I was an engineer. You are an architect. Usisi wako is an actuarian. Ubhuti wako is going to be umuntu wenza ama-robot, a mechatronics. And izinto zonezi wazifaka kithi. Sithi siqine. And even to the last days ngimbona esibhedlela. Wangikhanyela. Wathi bheki. Asambe. And ngiyambonga ubaba bami for isikhathi wayelaso emhlabeni and for konke awuyenzayo. And ngiyakhumbula ebuya ezosidinga ebusuku ema-bedroom ethu. And nxa ebuya ezokudinga ubona ubaba ekhala. It wasn't because ngomzondisileyo, but he might have felt that he might have hurt you. And that's something ubaba could not deal with. Ubaba was such a humble person, even through all the challenges he has gone through. As umalume bekhuluma, lami yangimbuza 2 days before esuka. Mdala, abantu bafuna ukubhadala imali eningi udingani la. Wathi bheki, ungakhohlwa. Ungakobulawayo. Abantu bethu basinida. Asenze umsebenzi and let's continue. And ngiyalibonga lonke likhona.
Siyabonga kakhulu ebantwaneni. Yeah. Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngicela singene kulandelayo according to our program. Imarula Society, City Club, Sobugazi, Friends, Tekmo Moyo, and Dr. Sibanda Church. So ngicela lilandelane according to, but sengicela lingenzele short. Angazi ukuthi ngathi how many minutes, but ngicela lingenzele short bakithi Nkosi yami. Time it.
Uta toluga baba luje olonzebo luga ziluchulile luyasi wahimina.
Ngithanda ukuthatha leli thuba ngibonge umphathi womsebenzi umfundisi Mpofu. Ngithanda ukwethula inhlonipho ku leadership ye government yonke khona lapha elidwa ngumama Honorable J Ncube as Minister of State. Ngihloniphe i-council yakobulawayo under the leadership of His Worship uSolomon Mkuni, your town clerk Christopher Dube. Ngicela ukuthi ngethule isicoco esikhulu senhlonipho kwabemuli yakoDube, lemuli yakoMsema, kuzihlobo kanye labangane bonke abangabe bekhona lapha. Like all other speakers have said, in the interest of time, all protocols observed. Bobaba labomama Bulawayo muhle, akusimvama kusiko lapho kulamandla ami khona ukukhulumeni ezikhathini ezinje, kodwa there is need ukuthi sikhulume nini. Ngingumuntu olamajazi amabili amathathu ngimunye, kodwa today ngivumeleni ukuthi ngikhuluma lapha sikhuluma ngo-engineer uSimela Dube. Ngimele isociety yemarula. Abanye bayamangala ukuthi imarula bangaziyo ukuthi kati imarula leyi kuyini vela ngaphi. Sebekhumbula phose kusiya kubo Plumtree. Kati hayi, uSimela is one kind of a person who had done a lot, as we have heard from the previous speakers. He had invested, wa-investa lapha kobulawayo, wa-create an investment. And you would agree with me, ukuthi investment leyo creatileyo, build unity and purpose of togetherness yabantu bekobulawayo. Kule ndawo ayakhayo ibizwa kuthiwa yiMarula Club. Indawo leyi iyakha abantu ibahlanganisile, ngoba what you find there nxa abantu bekhona kuleyo ndawo ufumanisa abantu betshengisa uthando, bethandana, bemanyene, behloniphana. And this is all what came from Engineer Simela. Bemuli yakoDube laba komsema, ngithanda ukuthi ngithi mina leli yezi elisithileyo lapha ekhaya alisithanga lina lodwa, kodwa kuyafakazeka ngokusobala ukuthi gwaqa kwabantu bonke sikuyona le indawo ukubana silahlekelwe. Ngithe ngeFriday ngisiyafika endlini ka-engineer ngisiyakhulumisa ukuthi ngehlanganisa amehlo lo mama uMrs Dube lo baba uDube labanye bonke abemuli. Ubaba ukhulume ilizwi elithi umntanami yebo ubengiwami ngokumzala, kodwa ube ngumuntu wabantu abanengi. Ngivumelane laye ngathi wamzala kuphela baba, kodwa ube ngumuntu ongaphezulu kokuba ngumntanakho kuphela. Bathandekayo abahloniphekayo, sibutheni kule ndawo celebrate a life well lived, a gentleman. Ineng lethu abanye, we've been looking at Engineer Simela simclassify as a man of high class. Of course, he was a man of high class. You cannot just be a director of engineer services in a big city like Bulawayo, the second largest city in the country. He was a man of class. But you would never see that from him, showing it ukuthi yena engineer or whatever. Sasize simbuze la nqa lapha amanye silayo ukuthi kati ndoda. Wena ke kati iningi labantu of your class badlala golf. At hey, he would say that. Mina ngidlala lapha igolf yami labantu bakobulawayo. Uyabe khona bese imphithezeni labantu ehlane labantu, you'll meet him empopoma, you'll meet him emganwini, you'll meet him eluveve. Simela, you would never, even abanye ababengazi kodwa nxa usubathe nguye phela umanjinela wakobulawayo lo bethuka ukuthi yena lo nguye umanjinela. That's how simple he was. A man who would interact with everybody, a man who will come down to the level of everybody, a man who will understand everybody. From the speakers that have said, even Lebantwaneni Besicho, we are hearing, he left a lucrative job. Wayegela, ngiyakhumbula kodwa ngayefika lapha ngingomunye wabe ngakhuluma laye ngamanye amajazami sithi mina siyakudinga kobulawayo. Wathi hayi ngiyabuya kobulawayo, but lani lingithembise bantu bakobulawayo ukuthi you will equip me with the right resources for me to perform. I wonder if we really did do that, or are we really going to do that? Mahlabezulu, ngicela ukuthi ama members ema-rural society ngabe abakhona lapha benesothi bafike lapha ngicela ke liphakame lime ngezinyawo. I would request you people, ngoba the way we have been living with this great man, this great giant, we need to give him a moment of silence as a respect. He really did a wonderful job to bring us together and unite us as a family. Ngabe khona lapha ngicela ke lime ngezinyawo abakhona. Thank you so much. Can we just observe a moment, not a minute, just a moment of silence in respect of engineer Simela Dube. Thank you. Bulawayo muhle, silapha sizobeka indoda esebenzele isigodlo samakhosi ngobunono obukhulu. Singabalisa siwabala amagama, kodwa isithanda ukubana sikutsho thina njenge community, njenge society yemarula lapha kade sihlanganela khona. Lo engineer Simela, yebo si socialize kodwa sifundisana izinto ezinengi ezempilo, kusakhiwa ubulawayo kusiya phambili. Siyamvalelisa okaDube sithi lala ngokuthula mfokaDube, lala ngokuthula Mthembo Muhle, lala ngokuthula Dube limthende, lala ngokuthula Macecisiganga. Uyifezile eyakho indlela, usebenzele ubulawayo, wakhile ubuntu bakho ubutshengisile. Siyakubonga mfowethu, uze uyesikhonzela kwabaphambili ukubana sikuthandile, sikubongile ngemsebenzi yakho emihle oyenzileyo. Imuli yakho oyichileyo sizacela ukubana sonke njobana sitshengisile ubana sikuthanda kangaka, sizasala sikhotha sincedisana layo empilweni, ingaphenduki ibe inhlekisa ukuthi ibe imuli esiyinhlekisa kube kade wena kade sikuthanda kangaka. Sengani uNkulunkulu angaphathisa avule amasango ukuthi imisebenzi yakho yonke emihle oyenzileyo kulona leli idorobho, imisebenzi yakho yonke emihle oyenzileyo kuleli lizwe ingasala iqhubekisela phambili, iqhubekela phambili ukuze izithelo zalokho inhlanyelwa ihlanyelayo zibonakale. uNkulunkulu asiphathise, siyabonga.
Sorry. Ngicela kule mota laphana esicela imove kancane. AEE 8554. AEE 8554. Sicela imove leyo mota.
Hallelujah. Okokuqala ngicela ubana ngizehlise kumama uMrs Dube labantwana imuli yakomsema abafundisi bonke abalapha abakhokheli bethu bakobulawayo bekhokhelwa ngumama uMinister uJay Ncube honorable his worship the mayor utown clerk amanye amameya ngabe belapha bese ngisithi ukuthi singachithi isikhathi all protocols observed. If humbleness was a person, we'll be burying that person today. IBhayibheli liyakhuluma lithi kona humble yourselves in the eyes of the Lord and he will lift you up. This is testimony ukuthi ilizwi lenkosi aliweli phansi. Ubaba uSimela Dube was the most humblest of all people I've come across in my life. Kodwa khangela ihumbleness yangikhona leyana isigcwalise sonke lapha during this COVID period era. Abantu noma kule COVID basukumile ngenxa yokuba humble kuka baba uSimela Dube. Ngiyakhumbula kudala mina ngiqala uku-interface la ngahlala ngithi Simela I actually thought it was his surname, not knowing that it's actually his first name. And that was him. You would not come and say, "Hi, ungati Simela, what did Dube?" You would just let it flow like that. And how many people do you find besenza into enjalo? I was saying to somebody earlier on, Mina, had I been in his position as the engineer, the director of engineering services, lonke lapha beliyavuka limfakela ama message uthi good morning, otherwise ambuye emsebenzini. But he would just come. He would just be as humble as always. He would just do his job diligently. Lizwile la uthi umsebenzi obhadala ama-rand. Wabuya ngapha kithi kumsebenzi wethu osabhadala izimdola, which is weaker than i-rand, by the way. It's a fact. But uchile because of his humbleness and the love of the city of Bulawayo. Now, I want to challenge people here today. Nangu uSimela ulele la. Sizamfaka endlini yakhe ukugcina. And all of us here are testimony. Akula muntu ongasukuma lapha akhulume an adversary report about uSimela Dube. Because of his goodness to everybody, he touched every person's life, whether use lokishini, whether use mayadini, whether uku high station in life, kumbe uku low station in life, he touched us all. Wena lami asiuqambisa abafundisi amanga ngelanga lothi sesithule yini. Uthi umfundisi agcine efuna ukuthi hayi wayilungile umuntu lo kanti vele nawo wesigebe ngasokugcina. Kanti you are very evil ungaphanani. I think today is a day we must pick up from impilo kababa uSimela Dube. Lawe lapha uzitshela ukuthi kona ngelanga lelana sisiyabeka ubaba uSimela Dube lami ngahlangana lenkosi ngachiya ubugweregwere bami ngahamba ngendlela enjenga kababa uSimela Dube. I'm speaking on behalf of Ibulawayo City Club, where I am chairman, and I was so privileged to chair a person like him. You can't balance it. It's a club full of professionals. But you know, every time when he comes in there, you will not even tell ukuthi ngumuntu ofundileyo kangaka ngumanjinela wedorobha elikhulu lakobulawayo elingaka ngoba you will just be the humble, usual, silent, smiling Simela Dube. Yazi bakithi ngabe kuthakona we can just pick up just a quarter of his character. Bulawayo will be a better place. Zimbabwe will be a better place. Ukuhlala sichana lokho esikwenzayo kuyaphela ukuthi du ngoba uSimela ebengakhethi. Whether you're Shona, you're Ndebele, you're Venda, you're Tonga, you're Kalanga, you are just a human being. yazi singakubamba kwinto konokwana lokwana yikho kuzasenza sibe a better people. Today we're so polarized. We're even fighting on simple political lines. Amaphathe singawazi ukuthi afonywa ngapha kafonywa ngezindlini zethu kodwa kwapho sisuka sichane uzimanga kanti kutheni. But he would embrace everybody as they are. He would tolerate everyone as he or she was. And this is the legacy that Ubaba Simela Dube has left us as City Club, he has left us as Bulawayo, and has left us as Zimbabwe. And so, ngicela ubana ngithi kona namhlanje asiphumeni la sizama kuvavanira uyazi ukupitcheka to just have a quarter of this man's character. And I can tell you, we'll create a better Zimbabwe, a better Bulawayo, and definitely we'll be a better people. And Izulu lizasimela ngoba at the end of the day, sonke la sihamba ngendlela naleya. Kulelanga kumele siyohlangana lo mdali wethu phezulu le. So wena nxa wayelungisa indlela yakho la wokoyo. Baba Simela Dube, lala ngokuthula usebenzile umsebenzi omuhle. Siyazi usuhambile usuphambili. Bakithi indlela yethu sonke siyalandela. Bako Dube, bako Msema, sikhala lani isikhathi sonke. Ngiyabonga.
Director of Ceremonies, Mfundisi Mpofu. His Worship, the Mayor Baba Mguni, Town Clerk Baba Dube, Minister Ncube, all government representatives here present, all associations here present, Abazali, Ubaba uDube, lo mama, unambo ngiseni, Mrs. Dube, labantwana bonke, le muli yakomsema ngithi phephani bantu benkosi bangani lesihlobo. I have a very popular saying each time I stand up to speak, especially at funerals. It goes, when someone you love becomes a memory, then memory becomes a treasure. When someone you love becomes a memory, memory becomes a treasure. Mina ngilapha igama ngusithole uOnia simelele isobokazi ex-Students Association. Abakhule ngama 1970s, 80s. Bayazi isobokazi was referred to as Emara. Isikolo lesana esiphansi kwe flyover lapha kwakuthiwa kusemara. What good can come from Mara? What good can come from Jerusalem, Mfundisi? From a son of a carpenter? I think Ubaba Mguni can testify. We are here to bear a product of Sobugas, an engineer par excellence. Very proficient. uDube Mthembo loved his school. So kule project ebekumele siyenze eyokwakha ama-ramps ngeke ngakhange khangela lapha angiwabonanga kaningi nxa sisakha we always forget the disabled abagogekileyo. So he had suggested that we build ama-ramps kuma classrooms ukwenzela ukuthi abantwana abagogekileyo labo benelise uku-accessa lawo ma-classrooms. But unfortunately, I don't know where to start as the chairperson of ex-Students Association. But let me tell you, I've never met a humble man like him. I always teased him, now smile, a full smile, because he would give you a half loop smile. But we'll miss him. Simela ngangithi ngichair esikhathi ngithi manje nxa sengichair kulabantu abanjengalaba aba exposed to so many meetings of a high caliber ngizathini ube ngapapari ube ngaxokozeli. You would actually go unnoticed. But if one knew his talent, you definitely have to offer him a chance ukuthi akhulume. Ujaha lo ube mumethe imicijo, bullets. You could shoot from any gun, shotgun, AK-7, 47, pistol, you name it, bazooka. Ube mumethe imicijo. Very intelligent and very humble. In short, fare thee well, Mthembu omuhle. Lala ngoxolo, phephani abakoDube labo komsema. I thank you.
Bulawayo omuhle, all protocol. Ngimatolo nzima ngomfowethu. Kuyangehlula ukuthi ngiqalisele ngaphi ngoba sasingachiyani kulibhruko lebhandi. Kwathi ngo-2013 wambiza eofisini yakhe. Wathi mfowethu ngithola iplaza. Naze sithi iplaza uthi basoze besithathele yini. Nawe ngisithi all right. Sambe ngiyelibona ayohamba lamenyathi. Ayisafika sayibona leyo ndawo. Sathi siyibonile leyo ndawo ngathi ihle. Kwathi 2014 wabe sithi asilanda inkomo. Sifika safaka inkomo lapha eplazini lelalingani livele linowires. Ngapha sifenza inkomo ziphakathi. Wathi nginenye into engicabangayo mina ngithi ucabangani asenze iproject yenkukhu ngithi amaboiler kakuhlaleki mfowethu uthi hayi ngase ngithi hayi wena antu usebenzisa ikhanda izandla zikho so yimi senza gijima amaboiler uthi hayi khonokho ingqondo zami ezikunika yizo ezizakwenza siphile hayi ngavuma sayichaya i40 meters hayi la kanye safuqala nge400 beds 400 beds rezana kwafa 200 mina ngathi hayi antsho yabo akwenzi lokho wathi kanti ngitshela ukuthi so wena ungakhetha ukuba ngikhansila uyavuka ukuchile ngathi hayi kuyatholakala mntana hayi khathesi kube lokho vele kuphusha kunje so ungabona ungadlanga inkukhu uzombona la lenkomo isikhona indoda ebihlaba inkomo ezingu3 hayi kodwa abadala bethu babengakwenzi khonokho babehlaba nxa vele sisifa manje yena akameleli khonokho sasihlaba ukucina amazwi ami okuthiyana nomfowethu sigcinana okuyikho kunzisa ubuhlungu wafuna kumhla ka22 sevalile emsebenzini wakhe uthi na ngithi hayi ngiseshop yakho ithi an hour nyabe sengikhonapho hayi an hour yangikhona sibili wafika umbizele eofisini yakhe sisithatha amabasket ethu lana singu2 uthi imuli yami ibuyile ngithi hawuyiki kodwa ngithuma ukuthi ngiyehlaba ibhalabhala ngale esibayeni uyakwazi ukuthi imuli yakho iyabuya ithi bonke bahlangene lo baba na ukhona so I'm happy hayi echelesile kakhulu kwathi 24 wathi asamsubaba ngithi kandoda sisaphumule sihambisa ubaba nxa sifika sichiya ubaba ngale sifika ngobo5 ngithi njengesuku njengoba sifika silala kade asilali yini wathi hayi asilali asibuyele yagebha safika lapha ngobo8 xa sifika lapha ngobo8 ethi asenze emulini yami wahamba kwathi ngeKhisimusi wathi ayidonsi sisebhadala abafana eplaza ngithi kade indoda sesihlala sisemgwaqweni kuhamba njani asafika wabhadala abafana wathi bhadala abafana wabe sithi into engifuna ukutshela yona ubhekise ekhulile thoko ngifuna ube lobheki uzomtshengisa ukuthi inkomo ihlatshwa njani idijiswa njani wathi lizahamba ngeTuesday sengizibuza ngiyaziphendula ngithi kanti ubaba lo wayese elokhu endilandisela izinto zonke lezi. Kwazothi lokho esikwenza eklabhini kwakulosisu wayesile uyedwa kwe-grocery yethu lokhu esikwenza emaklabhu. Wabuya usisi lwana wambhadala into zakhe. Wathi embhadalile uthi kimi umdrive uyemchiya ngegrocery yakhe ngithi namhluzi yenze so hawu ngiyavumela ngamchiya usisi lwa. Xa ngimchiya kwaba yilo ilanga lami lokumgcina khonapho ezidlela umumbu azange edla amabhiskiti akhe ngamgcina khonapho ngathi ngimgcine khonapho Tuesday lapha yelokhu efuna khona ifone hamba kuRoy hamba ngagcina like that and ungijele isizungu esinzima. I thank you.
Salubonani lonke. Ngibuya lapha ngigqoke amabhatshi amaningi kodwa ngizakhipha wonke kusale wani. Mina ngudokotela uSimanda. Usimela besilaye silo kuyiclub wethu singu 15 bekuthiwa ngabangani. So ngigqokele lo bhatshi namhla la manje ngizawakhipha. Kuli club yethu singabangane silahlekelwe kakhulu. Yindoda ebihambu ilemcijo ngizwile omunye sithi lapha ebilemhlamvu ezinengi shooting from all guns. Besithi nxa sikhuluma ku society yethu leyo eyabangani sikwazi ukuthi nxa uSimela ekhona kumbe ungambone evula umlomo, he would wait until everyone has spoken and nxa esekhuluma yena is almost summarizing. I don't know why he didn't do law. He would have made a very good judge. Ngoba wayekhuluma asummarize nje yonke into ayenze ibe lula. Even yoni engineering he could make it so simple ukuthi sonke siyilandele even singayifundanga esikolo. So njengabangane silahlekelwe kakhulu, sikhala lani bakoDube, abakomsema, abakondlovu, uBulawayo omuhle. Silahlekelwe kakhulu, sibanengi sisabalele abanye ba outside baphandle kwamazwe and bonke bathumeza ukukhala kwabo ngondoda ebesisebenza la ebesihlangana layo at a social level ngize umalapha wakhathesi.
Ngiyabonga ithuba engiliphiwayo, ngithanda ukuhlonipha imuli yakoDube lemuli yakomsema opportunity esiyiphiwayo njengebandla le-Word of Life namhlanje ekuseni. Ngivumelene ngithi all protocol observed ukwenzela ukuthi ngingaphambanisi izigaba zabakhokheli esilabo kulindawo. Thina njengebandla silahlekelwe ngubaba owasitshengisa into emangalisayo kakhulu. For a man of his size and stature and his standing in the community, le humility ayelayo kuyethusa ukuthi he can come and accommodate everyone and be as humble as he was. Kwakusethusa because when you then discover who he was, it was shocking. Ngoba abanengi bengaphiwa lelo thuba emhlabeni kuba nzima ukuba accessa, kuba nzima ukuthi interact labo because basebenzisa their standing in the community as a way of living with people. But here lies a man who taught us humility, who was accessible, very respectful. Mina ngingumfundisi, I had the privilege of pastoring him. Young as I was, he remained respectful, humble, and accommodative. For that, njengebandla sithanda ukubonga. KoDube siyabonga kakhulu ngokusinika a man who may have had a small body, but was very big in his brain, in his way of doing things, and in his exemplary behavior. Sithanda ukubonga Bulawayo for giving us the opportunity to pastor one of your gallant sons. May God bless you kakhulu. Kumuli sithanda ukuthi sichiye amazwi avela ezwini lenkosi. IBhayibheli lithi ku Revelations chapter 14 and verse 13. Babusisiwe abathi besifa befele enkosini bayokuphumula ekuchikachikeni kwabo. Imisebenzi yabo iza kubalandela. Imisebenzi kababa uSimela izamlandela. We have taken a leave, we will run the race. Thina sele ingqobe ivela kuPsalm 90 verse 12. Teach us to number our days, O Lord, that we may have. Ngoba esiyitshiyelweyo ukuthi asibaleni amalanga ethu ngoba isikhathi ayisiso sethu sisibolekwe ngumdali. Ngiyabonga mbisela kumphathi.
Siyabonga. Ngizacela ke manje abalandelayo. Former colleague engineer Aim Tunzi, Robson, Manatsa, Vitsa. Engineer F. Mangwendeza, Construction Industry of Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe Institute of Engineers, Engineer M. Sibanda. Le Engineers Forum. So ngicela abalandelane ke bona labo esembabalile ngizalitshela okulandelayo after that. Ngama minutes abo.
Akekho onjengaye kuwe inzoba zakhe ziningu naphakade.
I'd like to greet you all and observe all protocol. My name is Engineer Mtunzi. I've been an engineer doing his studies at the University of Zimbabwe. He used to come in the early 80s to do his part-time experience with us at the City Council. But I would like to concentrate on the time that he was made, was in the water. And that's the time we interacted professionally. I was his deputy, responsible for water and sewerage. I would like to also perhaps to give him credit for the establishment you've heard already, establishment of the call center, the establishment of the master plan, which we did together, and then GIS, and these were very instrumental in the development of the City Council. I'd like also perhaps to add on that, during his time, he established what I would call private sector participation in the clearance of sewage drainage. We involved a private company that helped a lot tremendously, especially in the western suburbs, to clear sewage blockages. And I hope, and I think it's still happening right now. But among his attributes, I'd like to say he was a very procedural engineer. He worked to plan whatever resolution was made by council or an extract of proposals which were done by consulting engineers. He broke it into pieces such that now we'd have to pull out whatever aspect of work needed to be done and then make it into a program so that we assign the resources necessary, in human power and the financial resources, and then make sure we achieve that. And he often had meetings every week, and I hope it is still happening, whereby all his senior staff would come to his office to discuss the issues of the week, council resolutions and other issues that needed to be achieved, so that we would come up with details of what each individual needed to do, and he would jot down thoroughly, so that the following week, if you didn't do something, he would catch you, say, you said you would do this, but you didn't do it. And that was tremendous, because he made us achieve quite a lot. And also among his trips, I would like to say, really, it's been said by several speakers that he was a very simple and humble person. I'm sure we all agree with that. He was very simple. Sometimes you wouldn't think he's the director of engineering. You think maybe he's one of the junior staff, but he handled himself, mixed very thoroughly with everybody. And his office was always open, that you were free. Each time you wanted to see him, you would not have to wait long. If he was in peace, you just go in, his secretary would say, come in and see him, and then you discuss the issues of the day. And for that, we achieved a lot. He helped also to improve the water supply in Bulawayo overall. Like I said, I was the water engineer, so I was very keen on the water issues. We had some extensive programs on the improvement of water supply from Nyamandla of boreholes. Additional boreholes were to be drilled so that we improve the capacity of all those boreholes and bring in more water from that source. And also there was a scheme to improve the capacity of the pipeline from Insisa to Ncema. It was Insisa Dam, I think it's the largest dam of what the council has. So we had a program, we involved consultancy to work out the modalities of improving the water supply through that pipeline. And all these were there, and we worked tirelessly to have plans in place on improving the water supply from that source. I think in the sense of, for the sake of time, I would like to end there, and thank you very much.
Good morning. All protocols observed. I also happen to be a colleague who worked with Engineer Simela. I was the city engineer for Gweru for some time. I joined as a very young man, and Simela was responsible for personally mentoring me. For those who didn't know maybe the few miracles you thought I was doing, I would constantly consult Simela, and he was of great assistance. Simela was a very smart and simple gentleman. Thank you, Mrs. Dube. Simela was never scruffy. You really looked after him very well. Simela was also, he was very organized, and at times too organized for our comfort, but we really learned from him that it was important to be organized. Simela, all the speakers, but Simela was an asset for the city of Bulawayo. Simela was now a national asset and beyond the city of Bulawayo. Several times, I also joined on some assignments, which were also national assignments, where usually Simela was the team leader. Of course, we would do the running around, but mainly he was guiding us. So Simela had gone beyond being umuntu wako Bulawayo, and he was now a national asset. Myself, having been born and bred in Makokova, and also Ngafundem Kandani, where he also learned, we always related. I would always tell him, you are my engineer, and I want to see things improve in Makokova. And one of the things which was very innovative and simple was when he introduced a strategy to introduce the community to be part of the road repairs. A strategy which really brought in a great change. That was Simela. I remember at some point, I also came out in the newspapers, bad news. It always happens if you're director of engineering services. The moment you're in that office, Imuliago Simela and Domsengwa, immediately, the moment you get that job, you're a thief, you come out in the newspaper like that. There were many bad stories like that came out. But the good part about Simela is all the investigation committees that came, they found him to be very straightforward and having all things in place. So for those that would worry probably of all the other bad news that would come on Simela, that was part of the job. And for whosoever wishes and admires that type of the job, immediately you get in there, what sorts. So that was some of the pressures that Simela would face. But however, I came here not maybe to really give a speech as part of the colleagues. I think there are other colleagues that we worked with who do that part. But I came here to represent colleagues that he also worked with, some international colleagues. Simela, through his leadership, he managed to attract and make Bulawayo City Council to be part of the Waterworks program, an international program that involves more than 18 countries that work with 10 water companies from Netherlands. And today I'm here just to share a speech of the CEO. His name is Toyin Rameka, and have been asked to represent those colleagues. We're working with Simela under the project, which was really seeking to turn around the institution of Bulawayo to be world-class status. So I'll read Toyin Rameka's speech. He's in the Netherlands. He could not make it due to COVID protocols, but they really work together. In Tembalizo, EGIS, you also heard about the call center. There are partners that were also supporting him, and Toyin was one of them. And the institution that Toyin heads is called VEI, popularly known as Veterans Evidence International, where I also participate and manage some of their local projects. So the speech reads, "Dear family, friends, and colleagues of Simela, VEI has been working in a strong partnership with the City of Bulawayo and the Engineering Department specifically for many years now. The partnership focuses on improving water and sanitation services for the residents of Bulawayo. From the start of the partnership, throughout the years, Simela was a key factor for its success. Why? Simela created trust in the relationship. Simela, the type of trust that I'm mentioning, these partners are from the European Union. At a time when the European Union didn't have trust, maybe due to the bad publicity and such, but Simela managed to convince this type of partners and the trust that we could still work with Zimbabwe and achieve the intended goals of improving water and sanitation for everyone. By being critical and friendly, but foremost giving space to the colleagues of the city and colleagues from VEI, including himself, Toyin, and also myself. Issues in the project and partnership could be discussed, negative and positive, but always focusing on moving forward to save the residents of Bulawayo. One of the characters that Simela had. Simela was not the type of boss who would not take criticism. I remember some other time I came under to a service level benchmarking, and we were reviewing each other locally, and we would always try to find the other things that Simela was not doing good. Of course, we all knew Bulawayo was doing best due to Simela. And then I thought, I think today I've pricked on the sensitive issues. But only to learn that that type of criticism actually made us much more closer. He liked people that would look at what he did and also suggest improvements, and he would not take any advice lightly, despite of the position or how young you were. That was Simela. So Simela has also helped do that to the WaterX program, which is an international program also happening in 18 countries. One of the advices that he gave to VEI is, we notice you fly a lot of guys from Netherlands to come and really help on some aspects. But also appreciate we have local talent and people who are very good and who can contribute to that. And his contribution actually helped WaterX review its strategy, where also even local talent is now also recognized and we're also now having experts, local experts who are also participating in this program. I also remember at some point when we were talking with African Development Bank, and then they would come and do everything and there was no local participation. But I remember him pushing such that as the BSWIP program was being implemented, that Bulawayo City be also in control and participate in the critical processes as that project was being made. That was Simela. He would always focus on the strategic issues and ensure that the best results are achieved. So Simela demonstrated leadership by promoting the water and sanitation agenda at the highest city levels, showing interest in the work that is done, and most important, leaders attract leaders. Simela was very good at identifying talent. Among all the local authorities in Zimbabwe, the local authority with the best talent is Bulawayo, and it was Simela, one, due to identifying the talent and such. I remember at one time I noticed a seat of Harare mayor. I was telling that, Mayor, do you know that Bulawayo is 3 to 4 times technical capacity than you guys have? It was Simela who managed to take Bulawayo to be above the capital city in terms of technical proficiency. So we would dearly miss Simela for his involvement in the partnership, his professionalism, his friendliness, his laughs, and good company during informal meetings after work. May his soul be blessed. Toyin Rameka, on behalf of VEI, the CEO and Director for the Foundation of Life, for the Director, Foundation, Water for Life. Thank you.
All protocol observed, Your Worship the Mayor, Honorable Minister. On behalf of the construction industry of Zimbabwe, namely the Zimbabwe Building Contractors Association and Construction Industry Federation of Zimbabwe, would like to pass on our heartfelt condolences to the Dube family. We sincerely feel your loss. I knew Engineer Dube as a friend, a colleague, and as a professional engineer. As Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, I think we have lost an upright, ethical, and an incredibly intelligent engineer who, as many speakers have said, did not only just guide the juniors and other people around him, but also strived to promote us as local contractors to participate in works and grow as companies so that, as you would say it, we create local capacity. He is an engineer who managed to traverse the economic and political challenges that we face in this country every day. He managed somehow. And we all know Bulawayo has received so many awards for the condition of its infrastructure. And one of the key people in this endeavor was Simela Dube. There isn't much that I can say that has not already been said. I can only mourn with the family and mourn with all of you. And all I can say is Zimbabwe has lost one of its brightest engineers. And may the Lord give us strength in these hard times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremony. Thank you, Bulawayo Omuhle, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Marvelous Vanda, and I come here representing the Zimbabwe Institute of Engineers and also the Engineering Council of Zimbabwe. We are here to pay our last respects to a dear colleague. You may have noticed all the pallbearers that were in front of you earlier on. All those are engineers. And these are colleagues that have come here because of what Simela did for them in one way or the other. As we meet today, I would like to say death has taken away a genuinely warm person, an excellent leader in the engineering fraternity. So much has been said by those who spoke ahead of me, and I will not repeat most of the points that they said, but I will choose 3 issues that I would want to bring to your attention. Engineer Simela was a highly engaged engineer. He was always ready to provide advice and to also share perspectives on engineering issues. Those who worked closely with him would know that wherever he was, he would change dynamics. He had a different way of looking at things. And all this came from his exceptional analytical ability, warmth, and intelligence. Simela did not shy away from sharing his views, whether they were popular or otherwise. He made a point that he would share how he saw things, how he thought things should be done, and the direction that should be pursued. Some may have judged him wrongly because of this attribute, but nonetheless, he kept on sharing his views. Simela was a joy to be around, always willing to help mentor young engineers. I think one of the persons who spoke ahead of me, is a person who went through Simela's hands. Also being a product of Mziliga's high school, Simela was ahead of me and he influenced what we did. Simela was a man with a quick wit, an innovative thinker, and he had sheer passion for his profession. Simela's life was a blessing for us as engineers, and the testimonies are coming today to mourn with you on this sad loss. We will treasure the memories that Simela has left with us, but above all, we will miss him beyond measure. On behalf of the Engineering Institute of Zimbabwe, allow me to say, Lala ngokuthula manjinela. Thank you.
All protocol observed. I would like to convey our condolences as the Engineers Forum to the family and everyone gathered here for the loss that has befell us. I am the secretary for the Engineers Forum, where Engineer Simela Dube was the chairman. My colleague already said that Dube was too organized, and he actually said for comfort. Constantly, Engineer Dube would do the opposite to me. He would ask me, Sisi, have you done this? Sisi, have you done that? Of which sometimes I would panic because I would have forgotten and be shy to say, no, I haven't done it. And I would just say, I've done it, then I quickly do it. Such was Engineer Simela. It was supposed to be the other way around, me reminding him to do things, but then he would be reminding me. Engineer Dube was so humble. He was so humble that he would listen and mingle with everyone, even though he had vast experience in the field. He never looked down upon the younger engineers, but he always encouraged us to do better and always guided us and mentored us. He was a soft-spoken person. Even when he was angry or bored, you would not tell. He would always smile, he would speak to you nicely, and he would not even raise his voice. I admired him for that attribute, which most of us lack. He was an honest person. Even when you traveled with him and he had no change and took $1 from you, he would make sure that he returns the dollar without you having to ask him. Such was him. He was honest. He was always willing to chip in and assist those in trouble. We face a lot of troubles as engineers in local authorities and in different aspects of life. You would always have that listening ear and chip in the help with which so much need. As a professional, Dube was an experienced and highly skilled engineer. I mean, Bulawayo speaks for itself. It speaks for him. We all know how Bulawayo is compared to all our other cities and towns. That shows skill and experience and dedication in his work which he was doing in Bulawayo. He was knowledgeable as well. Besitapa sonki knowledge we engineer do. And he was not stingy with that information. He would share with us all the information that we needed. And he would share. But he would always share with us. He was a dedicated person. He was so dedicated to his work that it would actually surprise me. Whenever we went for the meetings or the workshops, after hours, Tina besifuna ukuthi sihambe siyegida, store and all that. But Dube would tell you, ukuthi, I'm now going into the office. And he would get to wherever he stays and go into the office online and do his work. While at least some of us have taken the trip as something which is sort of a holiday. Once we're through with that, we play and then we're going to get into the office when we go back to work. But Dube was not like that. He would even get into the office, even out of the office. Such was his dedication, which is why Bulawayo is as it is today. He was our big brother. We called him our big brother, and he called us his sisters and his brothers, because he was indeed a big brother to us. We as the Engineers Forum, we have lost a dedicated engineer. We have lost a friend, we have lost a brother, we have lost a mentor. We feel empty because we have lost someone who was a dear asset to us. Nevertheless, my speech will not be complete if I don't mention this on behalf of the Engineers Forum and on behalf of the late Engineer Dube. As engineers, we are faced with a lot of challenges. On one hand, there is the aged and collapsed infrastructure. On the other hand, there is the scarce resources. On the other hand, there are high expectations. And this often comes in various accusations that we face as engineers. And Dube was not spared from that. We are expected to perform without the resources or with the scarce resources which everyone knows that we have. And it often breaks our heart, and even himself, it often broke his heart when the expectations are so high and the resources are so little, and sometimes the support is so little. We have lost Sihlobo silahlekelwe, and we are saying to the family, Duduzekani, Muli yonke, we have really lost, but find comfort in this, that uDube did well as an individual and as a person. Find comfort in that he did well. He journeyed well, he did well, and we will always remember and admire him for that. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga. Kule mota number AFR 6132 uchiyama light akhe on AFR 6132 acheka ama light akhe on. Siyabonga kakhulu ke sesingena esigabeni esilandelayo. Ngiyazibuza nje makukhulunywa lapha, ngizibuza imibuzo eminingi ukuthi kambe thina sihlele lapha mzwana la ulele lapha kuzakhulunywani ngawe. Bonke bakhuluma ngehumbleness. Angazi ukuthi wena lapho bazathini Nkosi yami. Sicela singene esigameni esilandelayo simcele uTown Clerk uMr Dube eze ngapha ngaphambili.
Akekho onjengawe, kuba ingceba zakhe zimile zimigu naphakade zona zimile zimigu hallelujah naphakade.
Ngiyalibingelela ngegama lenkosi Jesu Kristu. umama uMrs Dube, abantwana, the Dube and Msema families, the Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Honorable Jay Ngube, the Minister of Local Government and Public Works, as represented here by the Acting Chief Director, Mr. Mazai, honorable members of Parliament and senators here present, government representatives in our midst, we have Secretary in the Office of the President and Cabinet, Reverend Tamasani. We also observe in absentia the Secretary for Provincial Affairs, who is also represented by another officer whom I cannot identify for now, my apologies. His Worship, the Mayor of Bulawayo, Councillor Solomon Mguni, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor M. Ngube, aldermen and councillors of the city of Bulawayo, here present, heads of council departments, former mayors, former town clerks, and here in our midst, we have the former Director of Engineering Services, who is also former Permanent Secretary for Local Government and Public Works, Engineer George Mlilo. Aldermen and former councillors here present, members of the Urban Councils Associations, as represented here by the acting president of UCAS, who is also the mayor of Mtare, Worship Tanti, all mayors and chairpersons of urban local authorities, town clerks and secretaries of urban local authorities, the Secretary General of the Urban Councils of Zimbabwe, Mr. Mtegete, members of the Engineers Forum, friends, Bulawayo Omhle. It has been a very difficult few days for the city of Bulawayo, where we lost an iconic and the luminary members of the public. I stand before you today heartbroken that we count engineer Simela Dube among them. The city is still in shock as we have been robbed of one of our own, an illustrious, hard-working man who exhibited wisdom and a super intelligence. One of the condolence messages we received following the passing on of Engineer Dube said, he optimized humility. And the message rang true because that is who Simela Dube was. A man who had the city of hard-working history. He gained the passion for Bulawayo. He was a basic engineering student till his passing on. Even in times of hardships, challenges, he continued to develop innovative solutions to address them. He took every challenge head on and went on to conquer. He optimized leadership excellence as per the old vision of the city of Bulawayo, assisting the city with pioneering projects in local governance. His innovative ideas were key in the city of Bulawayo, smart city trajectory, and we became a city of faith. He achieved a lot of activities throughout his career, and some of the key aspects include the development of the public transport policy, which was a major achievement where 1,000 transport operators were reduced to 3 public companies.